chase betterment, chase personal development, professional development, and you will ultimately win. There's no losing with that. It's not degrees, it is an unwavering, relentless pursuit. Those who refuse to give up. That's it. Welcome to Thrive Well with Jess Woodbeck.
Hi, Wendy. Thanks so much for joining me here. I really appreciate it.
Hi, Jessica. I'm so glad to be with you today. I don't get a chance to talk to you one-on-one very often, so thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, especially in this video conferencing. It's so great. So everybody, welcome to Thrive Well podcast. This is Wendy with Curaytor. I have brought Wendy here today, not only because I thoroughly enjoy the work that she does, but I feel she could be instrumental in all of your journeys in building virtual communities and connecting with clients online. So Wendy, if you could tell everybody, what are you doing today professionally, and where you're coming from, that would be great.
Sure. So home for me is Bradenton on Florida's glorious southwest coast. Personally, I'm a mom to one brilliant kid, Matthew, and mother-in-law to gorgeous gal, Christy, whom I adore, by the way, and a wife for 37 years to Michael, and a buddy to one little puppy boy named Cody. So that's what my life looks like personally. In my leisure time, I enjoy spending time relaxing around my pool, walking on our beaches, of course, listening to music, pretty much everything that most people like to enjoy. Professionally, proudly, I'm the community engagement manager for our exclusive Curaytor Mastermind community. Before joining Curaytor 6 years ago, I was a licensed Florida realtor for 15 plus years, and I came to Curaytor through my relationship with Chris Smith during my stint in real estate.
Amazing, amazing. So many things in your bio there that I am a big fan of. I too am from the Sarasota Gulf Coast area, so I know Bradenton so well. We're there so many times a year. And I don't know if you just saw online, we're getting a new puppy. So you'll have to share all your puppy tips and tricks with me. I haven't had a puppy in, my gosh, 12 years almost. So we're newbies to the scene again. So we're really excited about that. Thank you so much for being here. Let's kick it off with, what does being a community engagement manager mean? What are you doing on the daily basis?
So sadly, so much of our culture is set up for convenience and speed and not genuine connection. If it were set up for genuine connection, connection would happen naturally and easily. Instead, we're living in kind of a lonely era of human history. So we have to fight against all the dominant narratives out there that speak to speed, scale, and efficiency when building a true community. Really simply put, community is a space where people come together. And I thought an authentic brand community is far more than a list of customers connected to a brand on social media. Community members share mutual concerns and meaningful experiences, both online and offline. And what I do is just kind of bring people together. That's my job.
Yeah, I kind of view your work. So our sales manager here, Kim, and I talk about your work at least weekly. We reference you in meetings. We talk about the work that you do, because for those of you listening, Curaytor has been a partner of ours in the marketing space for almost 7 years now. And Wendy helps cultivate the clients of Curaytor, and potential clients of Curaytor, I assume, and weaving together just engagement through not only commenting via social media on individual personal pages, but bringing together that clientele into a private Facebook group and tagging people to help collaborate and network and bring in their opinions or thought processes. And there's so many layers to what you do that I think are just brilliant in this space, that it inspired us with our company, Thrive Realty Co., to hire your role. Now, of course, we probably are doing it 6 ways to Sunday backwards, but we're looking to follow the Wendy pathway of creating engagement with our past clients. So the reason I wanted to bring you on here and kind of expose your work and how important it is because as someone that you are working with as a client of Curaytor, your work is relevant. It's working. And I can tell you, as someone who's fully aware of what your job is, what your role is, the way you go about it, even with me on my pages and my DMs and pulling me into the Curaytor community, I think is just brilliant. So let's talk to that, because most of us as realtors don't have thousands of clients, whereas Curaytor does. So how do you maintain that personal approach with people online? What are your top 3 tricks you could tell somebody on how to remain engaged with your clientele and bring them into your ecosystem, pretty much?
Well, thank you for describing my position better than I did, because when you asked me what I do on a daily basis, it's really hard to explain to someone what you do, especially if you've been doing it for a while. So I loved hearing that, Jessica. Thank you for that. I think that, first of all, in order to be a good community manager, you have to care about people. So you gotta wanna. That's one of my my favorite expressions. You gotta wanna do something before you're able to embrace it completely and do it well. So I love people. That's number one. I truly care about not only supporting, but also helping people kind of move their businesses forward. And what I mean by that is, if there's something that I can share that people are not aware of, I try to do that. Really, user-generated content is like the secret sauce in any community. So when you say that I reach out in a DM and kind of try to engage people that way, I do that on a regular basis. So if I see something in my newsfeed that I think is exceptional, something that's exciting, something that's innovative, some results that someone has gotten, I'll reach out and I'll say, is that something that you would feel comfortable sharing in our community? Now, I can share it for you if you don't feel comfortable doing it yourself, but I would love it if you could do it. And generally speaking, most people will say yes if you reach out. So user-generated content is really what I'm going for. But in between, those times, of course, you have to supplement with other things. I think you can use technology to kind of help you scale. I use alerts. So I set up keyword alerts in our group. So if anyone mentions my name, I see it right away. I think being responsive is another really important thing. If someone asks a question and it sits there for 3 days before someone, responds to it, that doesn't really show that you're authentically interested in the community.
I like that. That's strong. I love first it starts with, you genuinely have to want to. You have to want to engage with people, care about people, bring people together. I couldn't agree more. And the user-generated content, I think, is so smart. So things like that, within the marketing community for realtor to realtor content that Wendy does, is take maybe a video that somebody's put out there. Maybe it's beautiful listing content coming from a creative angle, and she will share that with the community to really, I would think, gain engagement, not only for that person, but also share the idea with the community, which is the whole preface, right, of what you guys are looking to do there, is collaborate, different marketplaces. So, no one should have a scarcity mindset around that. So let's talk about creatively then, Wendy. What is, that reminds me of a couple of things that I think realtors could do in their own clientele communities, is take their clients' great user generated content and share it. And something we've done just off of the notion of you displaying that and inspiring us is we have a client that draws, and he draws whiskey bottles, and he'll take really great whiskey with great artwork and he'll draw it. This is not his full-time job. It's a hobby. And so we took that content that he shared and we put it into our clientele community and said, hey, look at some really great stuff that Rob's doing. He's, we're #1 fans of him. And it really intrigued a couple of people to reach out and say, hey, I'd pay you to make some artwork for me. And how amazing is that, right? When you can bring together the community and now they're gaining from one another, right? Which creates that the group is so valuable. I couldn't imagine not being affiliated.
Exactly. That's amazing. Really, community building is facilitating, accelerating, and supporting the individual relationships that form a community. So you really have to keep that in mind, the individual relationships. And that, in my opinion, is also kind of a secret with respect to taking belly to belly relationships and being able to bring them online in an effective way. That one-on-one individual caring and empathy and kind of thinking from the perspective of the person that you're engaging with, you can do that virtually. Obviously, when you're belly to belly with someone, it's easier. But you can take that same idea and use that to build your community and to strengthen those relationships.
I love that. We teach a lot, and a lot of realtors listening right now are thinking, well, I'm on social media. I try and connect with my sphere. What do you think are some ways that you've seen, because you work with thousands of realtors? What are some ways you've seen realtors connect online with their clientele? What are some things that could help generate community for people?
So I think one-to-one, like you said, keeping your finger on the pulse of what's happening with your sphere and your past clients, and kind of spotlighting, things that they're doing, successes that they've had, but also to kind of scale that and kind of expand that even further. I would say that it's probably a really great idea to align yourself with influencers in your area. So that could expand your network, that could expand your community exponentially a lot faster if you align yourself with some influencers in your area, in addition to the individual relationships that you're connecting with.
I love that. And I really, just even sitting here talking with you, I really love the idea of a realtor grabbing a past client's, whatever it is. Maybe it's a celebratory piece, maybe it's an accomplishment, and them taking that and sharing it on their page. Hey, look what, my past client who became a friend, look what they're doing right now. I just wanted to give them a shout out. So proud that they were able to get the promotion or renovate their basement. I mean, all these small little variables in people's lives that matter to them, and taking a moment and saying, I see you, you're important, which I would say is without a doubt, Wendy, your specialty. There is not a day that goes by where I'm not teaching on the importance of meeting people where they're at, show them that you know them. And I would say you do a phenomenal job of hitting that button on a daily basis for dozens and dozens of people. It's not just us here over in Michigan, but I see you do it with my peers across the country. And I think it is a secret sauce to keeping the heartbeat of a community going, right? It's one thing to build it. Anybody can build really fast, right? Brick after brick after brick after brick. But then to keep that wall going or to keep that community alive and engaged, I mean, that's the hard part. And I think that's something that I watch you do, even smart things where you reward people for their engagement, right? Just simply through a recognition post. So that's something I think realtors miss a lot, is if you have a client that's interested in your life, engaging on your posts, it would be smart to reward them in some way, whether it's just a recognition post, maybe it's a thank you note. I know Curaytor recently sent out gifts to their clients. So little things like that, that I think would make a massive difference in just rewarding that virtual community building. So, okay, let's talk about virtual events and how to really make sure that you're hitting value for where your community is at. What would you say is a great way to survey your community, your past clients, anything you're looking to do virtually? What's something that people could do to make sure they're hitting the nail on the head with value?
So I think, again, something that would appeal to, it's not magic, really. If you stop and think about it, relationships are relationships, whether they're individual or whether they're collective. And relationships, healthy relationships, are maintained and nurtured the same way as you do in real life. So I think it's important to care what your community thinks and to poll them regularly. We do that at Curaytor. It's good to get ideas from the community that you can then kind of build on and run with. I think it's important, especially for services or for instance, in real estate, to keep sales out of the community. So if you're, if there's a new service, for instance, that we're promoting here at Curaytor, the community is not the place to kind of talk about that or sell it. We do present those opportunities in our community when they occur, but that's not our main thrust. So with respect to events, though, it's important to keep in mind when you're building an event or when you're structuring an event, that you need to bring value to the people who are going to agree to set aside their valuable time in order to, attend. You need to make sure that they understand what they're going to get if they attend the event, and it needs to be totally focused on them.
I love that. I hope everyone just heard that. It needs to be totally focused on them. I think that's something that in real estate, we can forget a lot. We think that we're the hero, and that couldn't be further from the truth. The client always needs to be the hero, the focus on them. Great advice. So surveying them, really watching and seeing what they're interested in, and then bringing it to life in a pure contribution event is your advice.
Exactly. And then, polling along the way, asking questions during the event and certainly after the event. What do we do well? What could we improve on? Do you have any suggestions, any areas of friction that you ran into? Anything that you liked, didn't like after the event? It's really important so that when you're running your next event, you can take that feedback into consideration.
Yeah, great stuff. Okay, so where do you see, if someone hasn't started, let's say, a private Facebook group for their past clients, what would be the best place to start?
So building a solid foundation would be my advice before you start inviting people into your community. Decide what your voice is going to be. And by that, I mean what tone you want to present across the company, no matter who engages with, the members of your community. Decide what that voice is going to sound like. Somebody needs to own the community, and you need to have some type of structure. So by that, I mean, if this happens, then what, what would you do? Setting up a group guidelines is something that, I added in after the fact. We didn't have a group guidelines when I first took over managing our community. And I feel like that's a really good place to start too, because then you can set up expectations as to how people will share things and what type of, a sharing is valuable to the community as a whole.
Got it. That's smart. I'm a part of, and I think so many of us are, we're a part of so many different groups. You get invited to lots of different groups, even hyper locally, right? Moms groups, clothing groups, city groups. And there's always some pretty fierce guidelines that go along with those groups. So good to note that we should also have that in our private communities, even if the product is just simply community and coming together. And we have a service if you so desire to use that. Okay. When it comes to adding people to the group, so it's pretty clear cut for you guys. It's a new client to Curaytor, so of course they're added to the community. When we talk about realtors and past clients sphere, how do you feel about vendors being included in these communities? Do you think do you think that brings value, or do you think that brings the center of a sale to the community?
That's a great question. I think it could bring value. It just depends on what, how you kind of coach your vendors to connect with the community and how you lead your vendors in discussions. Setting up expectations before you invite a vendor into the community is really important. There's always going to be those times in discussion threads where, there's a comment that is either not appropriate for, the community or something that goes against the guidelines. So you have to have a plan in play, not just for the members, but also if you decide to invite vendors into the community, it's important for them to understand, what they should and shouldn't do.
Yeah, I like that, setting expectations around, and if we don't follow the guideline, expect this to happen next. Maybe you're out of the group. Maybe it's a strike towards your 3, whatever that may be. I think that's super smart, because I'm sure as a manager of a very large virtual community or online community, that's never easy to do in the moment. But if you have those expectations set up front, it's really easy to engage with it. We talk a lot about clarity equals engagement. The more clear we are, the easier it is for us to perform or engage in any activity, because there's no confusion, there's no overwhelm. All the emotion really subsides because it's crystal clear what you should do, how you can do it, and moving forward is the process we're looking to do here. So I like that a lot. When it comes to looking to get, here's something we hear all the time. How do you create engagement in a community with those that are not engaging, but they're in there, they're valuable, they want to partake because either they're a past client of yours, they're a current client. How do you really start engagement with those that have not participated before?
So I think it's important. It's kind of like when you're a parent catching your child doing something great. It's important to, and this is just my personal feeling. I'm friends on Facebook with a lot of our clients, so I see what's going on in their lives. And when you're catching someone in a moment, it's easier to reach out to them and first of all, congratulate them or say that was awesome. And then ask them, if that's something, that they would feel comfortable sharing in the community because, hey, I thought it was great. Other people would love to see that. So I think it's important to catch people doing something wonderful or something great or something, catching them succeed so that you can reach out to them and draw them in. And again, if they don't feel comfortable doing that, because a lot of people don't, there's a lot of lurkers, which is fine, as long as they're getting value from the community. I'm happy to see that. but I do try to encourage people to participate whenever I can. I also draw our account managers in. So if I see something and, you know, maybe it's not appropriate for me because I don't have that one-on-one relationship with them that their account managers here at Curaytor do. Sometimes it really depends on who does the asking too. So I will draw other people in if I need to help engage people.
Super smart. I love that. I was thinking about things that salespeople naturally should be doing, right? The interest, the genuine interest in your current clientele, your past clientele, your future clientele, with the notion that your clients become your friends in some way, some variable of friendship. In capturing those marketable moments and then being able to reference them like you were talking about. So we do that just in our phone calls. Our follow-up phone calls are, hey, we just saw you got a new puppy. Hey, we just saw that, you know, your sister-in-law had a baby. Congratulations, those sorts of things. And I think you're right, because just like in belly to belly life, if something like that were to happen, you would reference it in conversation. Yes. Right? Yeah. At coffee, at lunch. So I like that you keep bringing the very basic notion of, hey, if you would do it in person, you of course should do it online. There's nothing stopping you from relating in the same way. So I love that. I think we overcomplicate things a lot, just in general. So,
I do too.
Yeah. Okay. What is something that you think would be a great, I see a lot of communities will do virtual events or raffles. Are there any things that you see happening in virtual communities, or perhaps you've even done in the past, that you would say, you know what, stay away from that? It really doesn't bring much value. It's a faux pas. It doesn't get what you're after.
That's interesting. I can tell you, I can give you an example of something that I thought was brilliant. It'll take me a minute to think of something that I didn't think was was a great idea, but I saw something just recently that one of our clients did. And what she did was organize food trucks in their area to be at their office location for the next 6 months. So, and then she put that out there in the community so that people knew about it. Now, the reason I think that is brilliant is that, first of all, you're attracting people to you. And, you know, by having food, we all love food, and everybody knows, you know, that's a draw. So having that draw and then getting people to come to you so that you can find out how they're doing, talk with them about what's happened since the last time you saw them, or the last time you spoke with them, or the last time you emailed or texted them. And then it opens up, you know, conversations that you wouldn't have had otherwise, that could lead to, you know, sales and business down the line. So, but that's not the main thrust of the event. The event is, you know, just kind of bringing people together once again. So I thought that was brilliant.
So good.
Yeah.
I just took a note on that one. That one is really good.
I see agents, and I'm not really sure since I'm not, you know, actively in real estate anymore, but I see agents having things like brokers open houses, that type of thing. I'm not sure how effective those are in this current market. So that might be one example of something that I think you could do better and maybe spend your time doing something differently.
Yeah, good call. Good call. I think broker opens, I've gone to lots recently, and with how quickly this market is moving, how rapid it is, I don't think it is necessary. I think it actually slows the process down, and there's really no need for it anymore. Okay, well, Wendy, what's something people can't Google about you?
Oh, goodness. Well, people might be surprised to know that I'm a skier. I miss skiing. I haven't been skiing for quite some time because I've lived in Florida for the past 35 years. But before I moved to Florida, I lived in upstate New York, and I absolutely love the snow. I love the cold weather. I love to ski. So that's something that people would probably be surprised to hear.
I am totally surprised to hear that. So would you go, do you ski during the winter? Do you ever go back up north to do that?
Well, here's the thing, Jessica. My husband is from North Dakota, and he's not fond of taking vacations in places that are cold. So it's funny because my son is 35, and he never saw snow. He's a true Floridian. He never saw snow until just a few years ago, when he went to France with some of his friends and built a snowman on top of a mountain, and it laid in the snow and made snow angels, which I absolutely love that video. So,
oh my gosh,
yeah.
That's amazing. Well, I tell you this, so we're almost flip-flop. I'm originally from Florida. I live here in Michigan, and I went cross-country skiing for the first time in 22 years this winter. And I have not done any winter sports or anything, and ice skating. We did it all at once, and it was a blast. I think, for people that don't like the cold weather, maybe your husband and I can relate on that, is as long as you're really set up with, as long as you're really set up with the right gear, you're okay, right?
Yep.
It doesn't feel as cold. But I think when you're sitting in just normal clothes inside the house and you think about the cold weather, you're like, no, I don't want to go out there. I don't want to do it. But
no, it's really important to play in the wintertime and to get out in the snow and play, because that'll give you an appreciation for, cold weather and for the snow, and being dressed properly really allows you to do that for sure.
Yeah, I agree so much. Well, Wendy, thank you so much for coming on here today. I really appreciate it. For someone that's kind of behind the curtains, online community, I really appreciate you putting yourself out there and sharing your wealth of knowledge on really how to build something unique, special, valuable online. It's been awesome to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. I love what you do. I love how you do it, and I love who you do it with. So thank you for inviting me, Jessica.
Thank you. I appreciate that.